I love trying to fix blind spots in my horror journey. Now listen, one of the greatest horror actors ever is Robert Englund. I gotta be honest, I have failed you guys. Now, I understand I'm not the only YouTube channel you watch, but when it comes to certain things, I should do a better job of that. Robert Englund is the greatest of all time. He's a guy that has been in some of the greatest horror films ever made. I mean, for God's sakes, we could start right here with A Nightmare on Elm Street. This series is quite possibly one of the most ingenious horror series ever made. And of course, I've talked about A Nightmare on Elm Street at nauseum. I have covered each film. I have done unboxings of every release there is, talked about the films on live streams nonstop. But just talking about Elm Street is really a crime on itself. That doesn't mean that I haven't discussed movies he's done that I'm a fan of. For instance, I have absolutely talked about Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, and I'm so excited they're making a part 2 because Robert Englund plays this almost Dr. Loomis-esque character. It's a complete tribute to that character of Dr. Loomis, and he does a great job in that. I love The Rise of Leslie Vernon. 2000s horror is something that I am loving more the further we get away from it, and I'm going to say something that's going to absolutely piss people off. I like 2000s horror at this point more now than 90s horror. That could change down the road, but for now, that's where I'm at. So we've covered that. We've even covered some interesting little things on the channel like this, Dance of the Dead, during the Masters of Horror run. Of course, you can't have Masters of Horror without Robert Englund being involved somehow. He did this, and guess what? Dance of the Dead is one of my favorites from the Masters of Horror run. Robert is always good. The one thing I can say about Robert Englund, even in every Elm Street film, which some people, they don't like certain films, but I always say, but Robert was good. And Robert is literally good in damn near every single thing he does. I have never seen Robert not do a good performance. I mean, even in shows like Stranger Things, I thought he just made everybody have to level up. He's that good. So we've covered some things like this. We've even covered some classic 90s films he's done, like The Mangler, which I can't wait to do the 4K review for that. I'm going to keep my review of this here spoiler-free. This is not what this video is about. I can't wait to talk to you guys about that video, but I gotta say, I've covered stuff he's done. I mean, we've even talked about his Phantom of the Opera. He's a great character actor. There are still things I need to get into, stuff like the show V, which apparently he was really big on in that, and other things. There are things I know I have blind spots for with Robert Englund. So I wanted to watch this horror movie for quite some time. There was a documentary that came out called Dreams and Nightmares. It's the career of Robert Englund. Screambox basically produced it, I think. They have a Blu-ray for it available. I highly recommend getting it. Don't stream it, buy it, because owning things is always going to be better than borrowing things or asking for permission. So please buy the Blu-ray for it. I'll show a picture of it right here. It's available on Amazon. Now, on that documentary, I learned so much incredible things, so much so that I don't even want to spoil some of the stuff that he reveals himself about his journey. Let's just say he could have been a totally different type of actor had he gotten the role for a huge movie in the 70s. But again, watch the documentary. But he talks about movies throughout his career and movies that he covets, movies he thought he was really good in. I finally got this movie. I need you guys to own this film. I honestly loved it. Now, the 2000s era of horror is something that, like I said, I'm really falling for the farther away we get from it. There's a certain vibe to it that is so nostalgic to me now. And it's interesting seeing, the revival of excess gore today with the Terrifier films. This stuff was prevalent in the early 2000s, and it really pushed it at that point. Even today, when you watch some of these films, it's like, Jesus Christ, that is intense. It's almost weird that those movies don't get that love. Here's the movie I need you guys to own. I really need you guys to own this movie. You're going to love it. Don't worry about blind buying it. I'm going to do a soft review, but let's check it out. Robert Englund's early 2000s extreme gore film, 2001 Maniacs. Now, you're looking at this cover, and I'm sure you're like, Christian, what the hell am I getting into? Is that a rebel flag patch on his face? Yes, it is. Now, don't worry. This is not a movie I feel is inappropriate or anything. It's not like a racist movie per se. Obviously, the North versus the South was over slavery and things like that, so of course there's a connotation with it. But hold on, just let me explain this to you. Doesn't matter. This is not a movie that's really about, black versus white or anything silly like that. So let me break this down for you. Essentially, we've got some young college kids that just want to have fun and go on spring break to Florida. but they end up making this random detour, and it brings them to this little tiny small town in the south. What's cool about this, and this is one of the best shots in the movie, is they pull into this tiny little podunk town that looks like nobody's there, and all of a sudden, between the houses and trees and this little street, everybody comes out of nowhere. Like 100 people come out, and then there he is. Robert Englund shows up, kind of like the leader of this little town. Now, there's a little bit of context that was given in the beginning of the film. There was a college professor talking about, the war between the North and the South during the Civil War is the bloodiest and had the most casualties out of any war. It was a rough war. And there were certain instances in the South where the Northerners would come through and just wipe out women and children and wipe out all these small towns. And he would talk about some of these certain regions. Well, this little small town is one of those regions. So you get there, and everything seems like over the top. You've got Robert Englund playing this over the top Southern leader, like this Southern guy, hospitality guy, trying to let everybody know, oh, you're our guests. You're here we're having our big event. We're having our big festival. Get ready. We got you guys set up. And they're all like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is crazy. Then he starts to seduce these guys a little bit when all of a sudden there's like these really good looking women. I would describe the women in this movie like Brandy from Joe Dirt. Does that make sense? Like that Southern belle kind of like girl. Like that's what's in these. And this is what I love about these movies. Like, again, this stuff doesn't get done anymore. It just doesn't. There's this friendly, almost like good-natured sleaziness to it that you don't really see with movies anymore. Maybe it's because it's played out, but there's like this fun sleaze vibe to these movies where the guys are trying to get with the girls are using that to their advantage. I call it the Eli Roth brand of horror, which interestingly enough, Eli Roth is in 2001 Maniacs. This is the thing I want to say that's important about this film. This is not a movie that tries to say slavery was good. I want to make sure that's totally upfront. Otherwise, I'd be like, God, this is kind of in poor taste. It has nothing to do with that. I mean, in the context of this film, I'm not saying the Civil War had nothing to do with that. I'm saying in the context of 2001 Maniacs, it's all about this little town that wants to avenge the North. The North were coming into these small little towns throughout the southern regions and just wiping out the women and children. It's very much pressed in that essence, not like we want to have slaves again, which I'm sure a lot of people in this movie, including Robert, would be like, yeah, I don't think I want to do that. There's a great array of characters in here, and there's even a black guy that's part of the cast that comes through town, and his reactions are like, oh shit, like what did I just get myself into? He's a biker guy, and he was one of my favorites in the movies. He had the best lines, and he was the most kick-ass. But Robert is incredible in this. I mean, he really makes this movie work. It has good production value. I'm sure this movie cost a little bit of money, but this is one of those movies that without the right guy for a role like this, somebody that could really sell it, that runs this town, this almost mayor-like character, this movie would just fall flat. But I really think Robert elevated everybody in this. Now, here's the most important thing I want to say. This movie impressed me with some of the gore sequences. Now, I don't want to spoil all of it, but here's one of them I will have to tell you. I just got to tell you about it. Let me set it up. There's a scene where this guy who's kind of like this, really kind of like good-looking hospitality Southern boy, dresses nice, seduces one of the girls, and the girls are like, I'm into you. Let's go. They go behind this barn, and he's like, let me blindfold you. She gets blindfolded, and all of a sudden, you could tell he's like tying her down, and maybe it's a kink thing that they're doing. She opens her eyes. Both arms and legs are tied, and she can see horses at her extremities, at her left and right arm and her right and left feet. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, is the horses going to all tear off? It's going to rip her limbs off? It was incredible. It actually made me go like, oh God, like this was clearly Hostel, all that, much less Terrifier. This was pre-Hatchet. So 2001 Maniacs was pushing gore like I hadn't seen at that point. It was a great scene. And like I said, this is the early 2000s. So 2001 Maniacs actually just pushed the boundaries more than I was expecting. It's so interesting how, the average person is really talking about how insane gore stuff is today. And, it's like, not only was it a thing back then, but I think movies like this still rival some of the stuff we're seeing today with the over-the-top gore stuff from stuff on Shudder and Terrifier. Then Lynn Shay shows up in here, and she plays like, the belle of the ball, the leader of all the women in this small town. And the whole movie is just trying to trick all these people, all these college kids into thinking, oh, they like us. They're treating us all nice in hospital. They get them separated, and then they die in these over-the-top gory ways. There is a humor to this movie that is so great. And like I said, this is one of my favorite movies from Robert Englund now. I just loved it. Now, this is a horror fan's horror movie, which probably you watching this are a horror fan, but this was a blind spot for me, and I'm so ashamed that I hadn't watched it up until recently. I bought the Blu-ray, and I was like, today's the day. I'm going to watch 2001 Maniacs. This is a horror movie I really think if you're a fan of the over-the-top gore stuff and like that stuff with a crude sense of humor, you'll love this movie, and I loved it. I'm actually going to look for more movies around this time period that have this vibe and feel because it worked for me. 2001 Maniacs was great. Now, here's the Blu-ray release for it. I love the artwork. This came out from Maple Pictures. That's who's on there. The good news is I got this Blu-ray really cheap. This was available on Amazon. I think I paid $12 or $15 for it. Highly recommend buying it. Don't stream it. I'm telling you, buy it. Support physical media. In terms of special features, there's a director and producer commentary. There's a commentary with Robert Englund as well, which is fantastic on here. There's deleted extended scenes, outtakes, an alternate opening with John Landis, which I haven't watched that yet. But yeah, there's an alternate opening with John Landis on here. And by the way, the ending of this movie, it's an over-the-top ending, but I actually liked it. I don't know why, but I liked it. I think it's because you see this incredibly well-done stone statue head of Robert Englund's character in the movie. I'm not giving away the context of that, but I just loved it. So this movie's really fun. If you're into that brand of 2000s horror, like Wrong Turn, the Hostel films, not necessarily Saw, because tonally Saw is very different, but if you're into that brand of that Eli Roth type of horror, you're going to love 2001 Maniacs. I really recommend it, guys. Pick up this Blu-ray, check it out, and add this to your Robert Englund repertoire because he loves it. Now I love it. I should have seen this a long time ago. Let me know your thoughts down below on 2001 Maniacs, and feel free to chastise me for not watching this movie sooner. Huge giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.